Alright. Hi, everybody. Maya's here. Say hi, Maya. Meow. Hello. Uh, so I'm not really sure what's going on with the chat. Let me just try this again. Yeah, this is what happens when I try and pop out the chat. That's not the chat. Hold on. I captured the wrong thing there. That's my Discord window. I get this. This is what I get. And for some reason, that's what I get every time. So, like, I can either not see the chat and have this on the screen, or I could push this button, which so it goes away, and now I can see it again, but I can't capture it. So it's like, great, I don't have time to debug this for an experiment that's going to take like 20 seconds. So let me just get this up on the screen. This is kind of a pointless Q&A for this lab because it's just an observations lab. So let me just get this on the screen here. So lab number 1, you were asked to just do a bunch of observations and record them. This is sort of like that, but we're going to be giving you other things to look at. So I'm just going to cover the chat log, I guess. That's what we'll do. And then if I do this, it changes its size, doesn't it? Okay, great. So I totally can't see the log, no matter where I put it. I guess I could do this. Okay, did that do what I want to? Okay, cool. So what are you going to do for lab number 3? You are going to be looking at what is known as a flame test. We've sort of already gone over this in week 1, inadvertently when we threw metals into water and we saw them explode. They all burned with very unique and pretty colors. Turns out that this is a really good way to identify stuff because elements and ions tend to burn with different colors, and this is due to their electronic structure. We're going to talk about that in 161 when we talk about ionization energy and quantum mechanics and how electrons behave. But one of the properties that all these metals have that we're going to burn is that they have an electronic transition that is unique in the visual region. And so what that is interpreted as by our eyes is, oh, it's blue, or oh, it's green, or oh, it's red. We're going to give you a video where Samita, the other 140 instructor, usually me and Samita do all the 140s. Occasionally other instructors do too, but she's the other one who does a lot of the lab content, and she's made a video that I then cut into pieces and put together so it was like only 15 minutes long instead of 50. Where she will demonstrate the technique to burn compounds in the aqueous phase. So you dunk a hot wire into solution, which causes it to evaporate, and then get it sucked into a Bunsen burner. And then you'll see the color of the substance. You're going to see a bunch of known compounds and their colors. And then you're going to see a series of unknown compounds, and you'll have to match their colors with what you saw before. Now, there is a correct answer, but I found that last quarter when I did this experiment, a lot of people got it wrong. And so that could be due to any number of different issues. So it could be people referred to this chart and tried to refer to these specific colors. Don't refer to this chart. This is just here as an example. Refer to the video itself, which will have a link. We'll talk about this in a second here. I'm just trying to get to the link here. Here we go. So if you go to this link, you will see that, I don't know why I can't actually click on it. You will see that the flame test looks like this. And hold on, let me capture it really quick. Now, this is a video that I made, so you probably remember that the first video with me running around the lab was like, oh, this is kind of like, quality. Yeah, because I was doing it all by myself. Samita had somebody else to record for her. So her video looks a lot better, and my capture is all screwed up again. There we go. That's not the button I meant to hit. I want to do that. And so what you're going to see here in the flame test is you're going to... I'm not going to have the audio going here. You're going to see Samita testing each of these samples by, if my computer will load, there we go, by putting the sample onto the watch glass and then heating a wire and then using the heated wire to vaporize that into the Bunsen burner. So she's going to hold it right next to this. You can see that there's like a little valve opening here. This is where the air intake is. So if I were to touch a hot wire onto this, it would evaporate this water, suck it into here, and go into the fire. And when you do that, that looks like this. Here's an example. Oh, don't do whatever it is that is. You'll see that in the video. I don't have any audio, so I don't know what exactly is going on. She's just heating up the wire here. There you go. So I pause the video at very specific points, just so you can get a still frame of the flame on the screen. But then later on, when you look at your unknowns, you're going to have to pause the video yourself. And what that means is that you'll need to hit the space bar or pause on your mobile. I don't know if there's a hotkey to do that. And then maybe advance one frame at a time by using the period and comma keys. And you can see that when you do that, you get a different color every time. Try and choose the color that is the most abundant from your test. So let's just... This is going to run in reverse here. And I'm just sitting here hitting the button over and over and over and over again. And so you can see that that's probably a good color to attribute for potassium. Whatever that is, I'm going to leave you to determine. Now, something you will notice, and it's good that I have like a frame by frame here, I can do this. You're going to notice like these orange streaks come through the flame at times, so there's some orange streak right there. I want you to ignore any orange streaks that you see, because what is actually happening when you get that is that little bits and pieces of compounds and substances that have been, this Bunsen burner has been used before, are kind of crusted around the rim of this because they've probably fallen into it or something, or other students have done the flame test and touched the Bunsen burner with the chemicals or whatever. And so usually what the orange means is that something that has sodium in it, so like salt water or whatever, has dried out, and then that part has then just burned in the Bunsen burner, and you see this bright orange. So ignore these flashes of orange and just get the color that you see of the flame otherwise. Okay. Now, that might be difficult to do because some of these flames actually are that color. They're orange. So, like, here's one. Like, should I ignore the whole thing? No, don't ignore the whole thing. That's the color of the flame. But if you see little tiny blips of that color, the orange color, ignore it. Orange and yellow, those are the ignore colors. Okay? If the whole thing is that color, record that as its color. All right, so I'm going to close this so I can go back to the chat and see if you've asked me any questions, and you haven't, so that's good. All right, that's part A. You're going to answer a bunch of questions about the experiment where you look at the colors change, and then you're going to predict unknowns. The unknowns, again, are a little bit different in color than the knowns, but they should be close enough. There are also two that are fairly similar in color. Again, go frame by frame and see if you can differentiate it, because one of them will be more intense of a color than the other, and that should be your cue, okay? Do the best you can. In part B, Samita's going to test a conductivity meter of solutions. This gets into chapter 9, which we're not going to start today. We're going to start that tomorrow when we get back on the regular schedule. Um, but conductivity is a phenomenon that we observe for compounds that are ionic. And an ionic compound, which we'll talk about tomorrow, contains a metal ion and a non-metal cation. So if you drop substances into a solution and put the conductivity probe in them, they should display a number. And so let's show that setup. That's the wrong thing. That is the live stream page. Let's not broadcast my stream key to everybody, even though it's censored. You can't see that and then pretend like you are me streaming to my account. So here's the conductivity probe. So the probe's right here. And what you do is you take this probe and you dunk it into the solution that you want to test, and then right here on the screen, a number will be printed out. That number represents how conductive the solution is. 0 is totally non-conductive, and it goes up from there kind of arbitrarily. Like a very, very, very conductive solution would have of this unit. The unit of conductivity is the microsiemen per centimeter. Yes, I did say the word Siemens. It's a unit. It's not what you think it is. Stop laughing. Yeah, that's really all we talk about for conductivity. We never touch on this concept again, other than, oh, hey, ionic compounds are conductive, whereas covalent ones aren't. So Samita's going to test a bunch of compounds here, and I believe those are listed on the screen now. You should be able to see those. And she's going to present the conductivity values to you, which you record into a table. And then you'll answer some questions about those at the end. And those are the questions down here. So this is mostly a watch the video, answer the questions. It's not hard at all, but the color part does tend to mix people up. So just be very mindful of what colors are being shown on the screen. If you are colorblind, or have difficulty interpreting color, hit up people on the Discord, take pictures and paste them around and like get other people's opinions. Like you're totally allowed to work together on this. And like I'm not gonna nail you for plagiarism if everybody writes blue. Like maybe you all think it's blue. That's fine. Like I don't care. If you need that help or those resources, let me know or let others know, and we all work together to do this. I can't tell you the answer to what color I think it is, because that's kind of the point of the experiment, but you can certainly ask each other for help. That's fine. That's all I got. So I guess we'll stare at a blank screen for a bit. Is this going to let me pop the chat out now? Nope, oops, something went wrong. So yeah, short little lecture about the lab. That's all I have. If you have questions, I can go over them. I don't anticipate there are that many questions because you did just have an exam. While you are typing any possible questions in there, let's talk a little bit about the exam and some administrivia, I guess we'll say. All of the exam scores have been posted to a point, sort of, I guess we'll say. Sorry, I was trying to formulate that sentence and then I had a long, awkward pause and I had to fill it. Some students' scores, for some reason, and I don't know why this is, I'm going to have to actually email eLearning. They didn't import, so I see that you took the exam, but then when I go in the gradebook, it just says blank. And when I post your scores, I actually am taking those numbers. I just copy them right over. So now my concern is that, oh, did it just do that for this exam for some reason for certain students? Or is it doing it for everybody and under what conditions? So now I'm going to do, what I'm going to do after class is over is I am going to go through everyone's scores for everything. And I'm going to report the highest score to my gradebook, and then I'm going to compare it to Canvas, and I'm going to see if everything matches. And if it doesn't, I'm going to overwrite it with the correct score. So your scores might change. They certainly won't go lower because if it's imported something and that was the high score, then it won't change. But if it imported the low score for some strange reason, then I'll overtype it with the high score and your grade will go up. If it imported nothing, then I will overtype it with the correct score once I have calculated it, because I actually had to do that. It only gives me a percentage and not like a score. I will try and do that before 5 p.m. because that's when my next class is. But if I don't finish, because I have to do this for all my classes, it will get done tonight at some point. Regarding can you see your exams? No, I don't release your exams. You will get your score, but that's it. The quizzes that you take are for you to study from. You get to see the questions, you get to do the questions, and then you could study from them and review your answer against the correct answer. The exam I never release, and the reason for that is because you only take this exam one time, and it takes me 7 or 8 hours to make it. And the second I release the answers, it'll all show up on Chegg. And like hell am I going to make another 7 or 8 hour exam next quarter? Like, no. So you can do without the exam answers. The intent is not for you to study from your exam anyway. The intent is for you to study from your quizzes and other materials instead. So you do not get to see your exam answers. They will never be released. I do go over them to some degree to make sure that there aren't any errors. But for the most part, I am confident that the quiz part of it, the exam part of it, I should say, where it is assessing your performance, is fine. It's just the end part where it takes your score and puts it in the quiz module itself, and then tried to import that from the quiz module into Canvas and failed for some reason. I know a few students that messaged me last night. I took the exam. Where's my score? And I was like, it's right. Where is it? But that was a problem for future me. That future me is today me, and so now I must deal with this problem. Now that my back is no longer like in extreme pain. If you haven't heard yesterday or you haven't read your announcements or whatever, and this is the first time you're hearing it, I had like a back seizure yesterday. It's one of the joys of getting old is sometimes your muscles just spontaneously don't work. And so I woke up and everything in my upper back was just like, OMG, ow. I couldn't move. I had to call somebody over to help me to get to the car so that we could go to the hospital. Not hospital. I went to a clinic, but once I got there and I had the appointment, I was more or less mobile, but I was very uncomfortable. I had to be helped upstairs and through doors. It was not great. Fortunately, I was able to put on my own clothes so that I didn't have to have assistance with that, because I really don't want to have a taste of geriatric life and living in a senior assisted living home at age 37 just yet. But it can happen, and I apologize that it happened yesterday and that I missed a lecture. The plan is we're going to just continue, which is why I'm not doing a lecture now, because I didn't feel it was right for me to say, hey, surprise, it's going to be a lecture, and then only the 6 of you that showed up get to see it, and the other people didn't because they made plans through the lab lecture or whatever. So we're going to continue with lecture tomorrow. From the start of Chapter 9. We're not going to skip anything or have you expect to read ahead. And then one of these upcoming weeks, probably next week, the Wednesday Q&A will instead just be an extra lecture. Let's see here. The exam originally, so it's 83, actually, instead of 75. I graded out of 75, but there are 83 points available, so there's an extra 8 in there. Those 8 points are not any specific question. It's just if you get enough points to go over 75, I give you extra points. Think of it as just like there are extra questions, and you could skip any 4 that you wanted to and get a perfect score. But if you did them, you would get extra points. So if you got a score above 75, you get to keep those points. It's still out of 75, but if you get 83 out of 75, you can get over 100% in the class. And some people did, which is great. I do that because I don't have an expectation that you should know every single thing. I don't know every single thing. For this class specifically, yes, I do, but if you were to ask me a question that was beyond the scope of this class, I may not know the answer. So I don't feel like I should hold you to the same stipulation of you must know every detail of everything, because I sure don't. I look up some stuff too. Like, that's fine. Your grade is really just a reflection of how much of that stuff do you have accessible. And so if you have an appropriate amount of knowledge that I feel like you could get through this class and be proficient in whatever it is that you need this knowledge for, I give you a C. Like, a C means you know a lot. A C means you are competent and capable of doing stuff. And then if you are really, really, like, apt at reciting or preparing material, then I give you a higher score. And that just reflects mastery at the level of, oh, you know this well enough, you could probably teach it. Like, if you get an A in this class, you could teach this class. That's where A generally is. And I think a lot of students think that, like, A means you know absolutely everything, and A is really just not. It's not that big of a deal. Grades are not important. I wish that was something that I knew as a student, was that, hey, if you get a C or a B or whatever, you're going to be okay. If you get an A, it's great. If your attempt on the exam was better on the first but worse on the second, the first exam, you get the better of your two scores. So what Canvas does is it has its own little module, which is the quiz. And in the quiz, I tell it, accept the better of the two scores, and then send that to the gradebook. And then what the gradebook does is it says, okay, I am expecting this score from this quiz. And somewhere in there it got screwed up. So for the exam, I don't know if what you see is your better of your two scores, or if it's just that Canvas sent it any score and then it failed to send it the second one. I know for some students it didn't send any score at all. And I was like, oh, they didn't take the exam. And then when I checked, they very clearly did. I don't know why we're staring at a black screen here. I could just do this, I guess. So I'm going to go, that's what I'm going to do, is I'm going to go pick through all of the scores for all students and just figure out, okay, not why, because I don't know why it happened, but what is every student's better score of their two attempts? Make sure that is visible in the gradebook, and make sure that is in my gradebook. Because I have a personal gradebook. I keep all of your numbers on my documentation in the event that Canvas explodes or I can't access it or something. Which is extremely unlikely, but you should keep backups of everything, just out of good practice. So that's the administrivia part. I guess the other thing to say, and it's at the bottom of the screen right now, this lab worksheet will be due next Thursday. That's a soft deadline. There are no quizzes due in the meantime. I don't know what the next quiz is. I want to say it's 9 and 10. 9 and 10 or 9 by itself. I have to... Let me look that up. It is 9 and 10. So the next quiz will be after we finish units 9 and 10. Then there will be a unit 11 quiz and a 12 quiz, a 13-14 quiz, and a 15-16 quiz. So that is where we are at for all that. That's all I got. So if you have any other questions, let me know. I'm happy to answer them. I realize this is kind of an awkward circumstance. And I wish I knew why the chat was working. Or was not working. Yeah, oops, something went wrong. I'm still getting an oops error. This stupid puppy eating this electrical wire. Like, I like YouTube, but their error messages, like with the monkey, with the wrench or whatever, they're so infuriating to look at. Like, they're trying to be adorable. But I see this puppy, and all it does is fill me with rage. Because it doesn't work. Anyway, let me know in the comments if you have anything, or not comments, but the chat, if you have any questions. Let's sit here for a minute, and then suddenly the music will start playing, and then I'll just go back to work. In any case, I appreciate that you came out today. And I wish that it was a little more productive looking than just this. I'll have it fixed by tomorrow, or I won't. I mean, those are the two outcomes, right? What's funny is it was working for the previous class, but I suspect that my browser tab falling asleep messed this up, and I just need to reboot or close all my browser windows or something. So I didn't have time to do that before class, though. Uh-oh. There's that music, so I guess we'll call it a day. I will catch you tomorrow for a lecture on Unit 9. See you then.